A new Competition Bureau report on the airline industry says Canada should allow 100% foreign ownership of domestic-only airlines. And joining us now with more on the report is CTV's Jeremy Sharon in Ottawa. So what are we learning from this report?
Well, Jamie, yeah, that is one of the ways that the Competition Bureau says the airline industry in Canada can better competition in the industry. They made three kind of key recommendations that follow three key themes throughout the report. The first being prioritizing competition in Canada's aviation policy when it comes specifically to reviewing airline mergers and collaborations, ensuring that we don't see, one company taking over and perhaps operating smaller companies, avoiding situations like that. And then the second one being the biggest and probably the most important one, as you've already highlighted, leveraging international capital and experience to strengthen domestic competition. The proposal by the Competition Bureau is that they do, the federal government do two things to change rules and regulations in the aviation industry. The first being increasing the single investor foreign ownership limit for Canadian airlines to 49%. Right now, that is 25%, meaning that a foreign investor can only own 25% of a Canadian airline. The second is adding a new class of airline that would operate only in Canada, but can have owners from outside of Canada, allowing 100% foreign ownership for domestic-only Canadian airlines. And the pitch is that doing both of these things would improve access to capital, drive growth, and promote competition. The idea is to lower the price or the fees that Canadians are paying to fly. There were three kind of main complaints Canadians had, according to this market survey. The first being there were not enough options. The second being airfares were too high. And the third being they felt like they needed to get better service. Across all major airports in the country, between Air Canada and WestJet, between half and 3/4 of domestic flights are booked through those two companies. So you look at other companies like Porter, like Flair that operate in Canada, they're struggling to break through and really create much competition, if at all, to airlines like Air Canada and WestJet that clearly dominate the market. So the goal here through these recommendations is to create more competition, ultimately to ensure that Canadians, one, have more options, two, can pay less when they travel and have a better traveling experience overall.
What are some of the other lingering concerns from Canadians?
Well, I mean, you look, price obviously is huge, and lack of options is huge. But when you compare to other countries, I think that's where Canadians really look and go, our industry, the Canadian airline industry, is drastically different than other countries. First of all, it costs more on average to travel domestically than it does internationally oftentimes. You can usually book a flight to somewhere in the U.S., even somewhere in Europe, for less than you would to travel kind of across the country, let's say from Ottawa to Vancouver. And when you compare the domestic travel industry here in Canada and what Canadians pay to travel within the country to somewhere like the U.S. or somewhere like Europe, the difference is drastic. And so I think Canadians are looking for things to change and for airline travel to be a little more affordable in the country, which it just hasn't been for quite some time now.
That's CTV's Jeremy Sharon. We appreciate that report. Thank you.
Anytime.